That day particularly, there was a thin line between death and survival.
For Jerry Wirtz, that thin line was a matter of feet. From his Medford home, Wirtz recalls his harrowing escape from the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
295 of our innocent employees went to work that day and tragically lost their life because of this, horrific event.
On September 11th, 2001, he deviated from his morning routine. Instead of heading straight to the brokerage firm on the 93rd floor, he stopped at the gift shop.
I went to buy that for my daughter, and that day, this woman got on the elevator, and that was really what saved me, honestly.
The woman he shared an elevator with had to get off 2 floors below his office.
When we got up to the 91st floor, and the doors opened and she was stepping off, that's when the plane hit the building. And it literally, the whole top of the elevator exploded, and we were, because of the impact, the significant impact, we were blown out of the elevator. I wasn't sure what happened, but I knew something very bad happened because the impact was so significant, and the flames from the gasoline going across the ceiling was really very scary.
Wirtz and the woman found themselves on a floor under construction.
I reached out to her. I shook her a little bit to say, hey, are you okay? And she was just really hysterical, crying. She did not speak very good English. My first reaction was, look, we got to get out of here.
The two of them made it to a stairwell. Wirtz said the evacuation remained calm until the second plane hit the South Tower.
You could hear and you could see that the walls and the stairs were cracking. So when that started happening, there was like dead silence, and it was like people just started to say, okay, pedal to the metal. I mean, everything got accelerated, and we just moved a lot faster.
We got to get out of here.
We got to get out of here.
Wirtz and the others helping to carry people to safety.
There was one woman, she probably was like 350 pounds. I mean, she just was exhausted. She wanted to give up. We were like, don't give up, let's keep going. We were helping her. She finally made it outside. When we made it outside, on the plaza, there was like 3 feet of like toxic dust. And, you had to have a handkerchief or something over your mouth, or otherwise you would cough or throw up. And we just kept pushing her to get out into the street.
Wirtz keeps a file of magazine clippings showing his escape down the stairwell, and Vanessa Lawrence, the woman in the elevator who also survived. On the 20th anniversary of the attacks, Wirtz thinks of the hundreds of coworkers and friends he lost, and he hopes everyone remembers the important lessons from that fateful day.
I just realized that, life is short, it can go so fast, and I just tell people, live every day to the best that you can. Hug your loved ones, and don't let little things bother you, but I hope the world never forgets it.
And 20 years later, Wirtz still works at the same company and still travels to New York for business. But he has not been to the memorial at Ground Zero. He says that he will go one day, and when he does, he will bring his family.
Eric Kane live in Boston with more on some of the local celebrations today and this evening. Eric?
Adam, things have quieted down now, but earlier there was a lot of excitement here in Boston and Somerville and other areas as thousands of Biden supporters came out to cheer on a new direction for the country.
Music blaring and people dancing in the streets of Boston and Somerville Saturday as thousands gather to celebrate President-elect Biden's victory over President Trump. In Somerville, the festivities were confined to Davis Square. In Boston, it was more of a street festival as the party spilled out onto Boylston and snarled traffic near the Public Garden.
This is my birthday present.
But many drivers didn't seem to mind the congestion.
Just an outpouring of joy, like a pent up, like the city needed to let it out, and it's great to see.
The signs and the sentiment were clear.
Trump, you're fired.
People were excited for America's new chapter.
Support Biden. Support my new president. You heard what he said. You understand me? Since the old one, he messed up a lot.
Even those cheering on Biden and Kamala Harris know big challenges remain.
I don't think this celebration is like, it's over, we won, hooray, done, now everybody goes home. But now we can actually do the work.
And some Biden supporters understand the disappointment many Trump fans feel now, but hope President-elect Biden will pull together a deeply divided nation.
It's definitely hard. I think Biden's the right man for the job, and I think when he says he wants to be president for all Americans, I truly believe that.
And back out live, you can see Charles Street has reopened to traffic for a while this evening. This street was shut down because of that huge celebration, but the crowd went home around 8 o'clock, just a couple of hours before the curfew starts for COVID. We're live in Boston. Eric Kane, 7 News 19.
But now, after the violence and bloodshed, some Republicans are beginning to break away from the president. After the Capitol descended into chaos, Vice President Pence thanked law enforcement for taking back control.
The violence was quelled. The Capitol is secured, and the people's work continues.
The work of Congress certifying the votes of the Electoral College was violently interrupted hours earlier as swarms of President Trump supporters broke inside the Capitol building.
Sit down. They put us down.
Members of Congress and staff ducking for cover inside as Capitol Police barricaded the doors to the House chamber and drew their guns to force back the protesters. The surreal sight of people breaking into the Capitol playing out on what was supposed to be a ceremonial proceeding.
Madam Speaker, members of Congress.
Earlier, Vice President Pence oversaw the joint session of Congress to accept Democrat Joe Biden as president-elect. But some Republican lawmakers, encouraged by President Trump, objected the electoral votes.
Object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
Shortly after the House and Senate returned to their chambers, the pro-Trump rioters breached the building, the House locking its doors. The Senate session cut short.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause.
Protesters are in the building.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley was quickly evacuated before the protesters were able to get inside the chamber. Vice President Pence was also rushed to a secure area. Lawmakers putting on gas masks, sheltering in place as security forces moved in to clear out the protesters to restore order. The violence condemned by leaders of both parties.
They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. They failed.
These were rioters and insurrectionists, goons and thugs, domestic terrorists.
Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler of Georgia, who just lost re-election, announced she's backing away from President Trump.
I cannot now in good conscience object to the certification of these electors. The violence, the lawlessness, and siege of the halls of Congress are abhorrent and stand as a direct attack on the very institution my objection was intended to protect, the sanctity of the American democratic process.
And former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney called on his colleagues to reject conspiracy theories for the good of the country.
For any who remain insistent on an audit in order to satisfy the many people who believe that the election was stolen, I'd offer this perspective. No congressional audit is ever going to convince these voters, particularly when the president will continue to say that the election was stolen. The best way we can show respect for the voters who are upset is by telling them the truth.
The vote count is expected to continue tonight, but leaders from both parties have said they're going to get it done tonight, as is mandated by the Constitution. In the newsroom, Eric Kane, 7 News Night Team.